Hello everybody, back again here. I didn't film anything, I know, big shocker. So I decided I'm just gonna do a look up something that... So Sam and I watched Elvis the other night. This was actually a while ago, maybe a week ago. Tom Hanks and that other young actor who plays Elvis. And it was really good. I really enjoyed it. As someone who was young, I mean, obviously I'm aware of Elvis and I know a relatively decent amount about him. But I never really knew much about like the relationship between his agent or his manager and him. And there was sort of like controversy around the money and the way that his manager was abusing him. If you're of the age of Elvis, you probably are familiar with this, but I never knew any of it. So the movie was extra interesting to me, you know, learning about all that and diving into it. The movie was really like bizarre, like the pacing was kind of trippy and they had some sort of modern takes on the music. You know, there's a lot of modern music in it. And it was different and weird. It was by the same director who did Moulin Rouge, so it had that similar sort of circusy almost style, but obviously with Elvis. It seemed to chill out a little bit more at the end, and the story was pretty dark. Spoiler alert, he dies at the end. They have a quote right at the very end that says that Elvis Presley to this day is still the best-selling single recording artist of all time. And that really blew my socks off because, I mean, obviously I know Elvis was humongous, but I didn't realize that his reign stood the test of time because, you know, there's things like Michael Jackson involved. So I just have pulled up here the list of best-selling music artists on Wikipedia. Artists by reputable sales: Beatles, Elvis Presley, Michael Jackson, Elton John, Queen, Madonna, and Led Zeppelin. Okay, so 250 more records. So this is amount by record sales. The Beatles, that makes sense. 289 million. Elvis at 231 million. Claimed sales. So then in that case, it is in fact true. Elvis Presley would be the best-selling single artist because he wasn't a band like the Beatles. That's pretty wild. I still can't believe that Elvis Presley is still bigger in terms of record sales than Michael Jackson. That's really hard to wrap my mind around, just because, you know, obviously you think of Michael Jackson as being the king of pop, and also I just feel like it was a more global market at that time, you know? Big countries like, I don't know, big countries, just there were more people on planet Earth than back in the Elvis days. But then again, I was bringing this up with somebody the other day, that there's also less competition. Like, I think it would be really hard for the Beatles to exist again in today's world because there's just too much diversification of audiences. So like back in the day, if you wanted to have, you know, like if you were a teenager, you probably only had like a handful of artists that you could be super fans of because there was only a handful of radio stations playing a handful of songs. But now with Spotify and YouTube and all these ways to discover like little tiny artists and stuff, I just don't think you could ever compile that much interest into one group. There's just too much selection. There's too much option. So I don't think you could, like, I think these top charts here are probably gonna stay more or less the same for all of eternity. Okay, maybe not all of eternity, but for the foreseeable future. You know, I just don't see somebody coming in. I mean, I don't know. I guess you get with K-pop, I guess that sort of shakes things up because look at like, you know, BTS, which if you had some group from China or something and everybody in China, I don't know, maybe something like that. But I just think that these lists here, these top dogs, I don't see these top dogs going anywhere anytime soon. It's pretty impressive though that Rihanna is right behind Led Zeppelin. So wow, Eminem, Mariah Carey, Taylor Swift. Eminem sold more than Taylor Swift. Okay, and then you have this level, which is where I feel like we're dealing with now. You know what I mean? Like even some of these, the Beyoncés, the Taylor Swifts, and Eminems, I think it's getting harder. I think it's still possible to knock those people out of their slot for sure. But I think it's just going to continuously get harder. Because when you think about it, these were all like late 90s, early thousands sort of artists. And I mean, you know, with the exception of like AC/DC and Rolling Stones, but these were all artists that were still big or accumulated their fan base primarily in the age of the record label. While now we're not so much in that. You have like Drake and Kanye West, Justin Bieber, Bruno Mars, Ed Sheeran. Those are more in the modern Spotify, YouTube era. Certified units, Drake has blown Right? Am I looking at this correctly? Am I having a completely done moment? Drake has blown the Beatles out of the water. But then it's like, okay, well, what is a stream, you know? I mean, it's not like they could count how many times somebody in the 60s could listen to a Beatles record, right? I mean, is that fair? Is that a fair comparison? This is really confusing to me, though. This 405 million units from Drake. I mean, that is astronomical if that's number of streams. Let's go to the Drake page. Okay, hold on, here we go. Drake has achieved 11 #1 hits on the Billboard Top 100 and holds further Hot 100 records. He has the most top 10 singles, 54, the most charted songs, 258 songs, the most simultaneously charted songs in a week, 27, the most 100 hits debut, most continuous times on the Hot 100. He additionally has the most #1 singles in whatever, these R&B, the pop rap stuff. Now, the reason the Drake thing is so especially interesting to me is I had an argument for a long time with somebody, arguably to this day that I still have, that when Drake dies, it will be as big of a deal as when Prince died, give or take. Now, I'm not trying to make the claim that Drake is better than Prince or even more famous than Prince. My argument is that Drake is just as influential to, or will be just as influential to a generation as Prince was. Now, the person that I was having this argument with lived through the Prince era, and so they were trying to explain to me that you don't understand how big Prince was, and I was just trying to explain, no, you don't understand how big Drake is. It was a great, like, thing of you could see two generations with two different perspectives. I'm just saying, you know, just because somebody hasn't sold as many records does, you know, influence is very powerful, and today celebrities can be more influential than ever because they can be influential in so many different ways. All right, that's it for me. I got to put this together, and I'll see you guys tomorrow. I have no idea what the rest of my week looks like. I think I have a video for you tomorrow, but a pretty tight schedule. So, I mean, there will be a video tomorrow, but I think I would, whatever, shut up, go away.